Welcome into Celtics Today. I am Will Scott, breaking down the latest Boston Celtics news and rumors, and we're going to talk about some trade rumors on today's show. And no, I'm not talking about Kevin Durant in terms of trade rumors for the first time in a long time. And if you're happy about that, go down and like this video if you're happy that Kevin Durant is not coming to the Boston Celtics. The Celtics are not trading Jaylen Brown for KD. Hit that thumbs up icon if you are pleased with the news that came out yesterday. And although they're not going to trade for KD, they might still trade for some other guys. And as we discussed a few weeks prior, the Evan Fournier $17.1 million TPE expired. However, the Celtics still have several TPEs available, not as large as the Fournier TPE, but here are the two largest TPEs they have. Juancho Hernangomez, a.k.a. Bo Cruz, nearly $7 million in TPE, and then Dennis Schroeder, $5.9 million available. Those are the two largest Celtics available TPEs, and Sean Devaney of Heavy.com posted an article where he linked the Celtics to Justise Winslow. Here is what an NBA assistant coach told Heavy.com. Winslow makes sense as a fourth or fifth wing off the bench on a good team, but not on a team that is probably a 10 or 11 seed. You look at that roster, and they're trying to win, but it doesn't look like they're good enough, especially if Damian Lillard is not back to his old self, the assistant coach told Heavy.com. If they start selling off pieces, he'd be one of the first to go. So Justise Winslow has been linked to the Boston Celtics as a potential trade target, and his $4.1 million salary does fit in to the Celtics' available TPEs. Here's what Winslow did after being traded to Portland, and he played very, very well in limited action with the Blazers. 10.7 points per game, 2.9 assists per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, shooting over 40% from the floor. And in Portland, in those 11 games, we saw him kind of look more like the Justise Winslow we saw earlier in his career in Miami. He was the 10th overall pick in the 2015 draft. Do you want to trade for Justise Winslow? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Go down the comment section, chime in. Do you want to make a trade with the Blazers for Justise Winslow? Again, he does fit in to the Celtics TPE. Now, this guy does not fit into the TPE, which makes the trade a little bit complicated, but John Collins continues to be linked to the Celtics. We've seen him linked several times. We've talked about him before in the show. Not in a while, though. This is what Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report said fairly recently. I do know that Boston called him at one point in the draft cycle, but never brought this up public previously, because I was told that it was never serious that we're going to get very far. There was another NBA insider that chimed in about the Collins to Boston rumors. But first, I want to tell you about this great deal we're giving you on this Jason Tatum jersey. You can pick it up at chatsports.com/Tatum. Go get your number 0 jersey. Support our guy JT. He's going to have a monster year this year for the Celtics. You want to be repping his jersey during what's going to be a championship year, I think, for the Celtics. Chatsports.com/Tatum. Zach Harper, a reporter for The Athletic, said this about Collins to Boston. So Jake Fisher, not the only one. There's also some chatter the Celtics could be interested in a deal for Collins. Al Horford is 36 years old. He has one more year left on his deal, non-guaranteed. As great as he was for them in the postseason, the Celtics shouldn't plan on him being a viable part of this rotation long term. Collins is only 24 years old, and putting him with Robert Williams III and Jason Tatum in the front court would give the Celtics a young, dynamic trio up front. The problem is, who do you give up for Collins in this scenario? It isn't Al Horford. It isn't some other guys that were discussed in that article. Now, do you want to trade for John Collins? Type T for trade or type P for pass. It is the pinned comment on today's video. When ad break comes, go down, let me know. Do you want to make a trade with the Hawks for John Collins? Logistically, this is going to be really tough for the Celtics, and I do believe that it's very possible that Collins will be traded. He has been in trade rumors, especially after trading for Murray. So the Hawks might look to move him, and he's a damn good player. I mean, 16.2 points per game, nearly 8 rebounds per game, shot over 52% from the floor. So he's a great player, but I don't know how the Celtics are going to make this work with the cap. I don't know who the Celtics would give up for Collins. I don't know if he'd come off the bench. I mean, he's a starting level caliber player, but then again, so is Malcolm Brogdon, and Brogdon's probably going to come off the bench in Boston. So I don't really think a Collins trade is realistic, but it would be a lot of fun. Here are some other teams that have been linked. The Nets have recently been linked to Collins, and apparently they were interested in him, and maybe the Hawks called about KD, and they would have been willing to negotiate had Collins been a centerpiece in that deal. The Miami Heat have also been linked, as well as the Charlotte Hornets. Celtics, one of 4 teams that I've seen regularly linked to Collins, who has been in NBA trade rumors much of this offseason. Now, if you love the Celtics, go down, subscribe to the channel, because we're bringing you guys Celtics news, Celtics rumors. If Celtics news breaks, we get you guys a video ASAP. Go down, hit that big red subscribe button if you're all about the C's. Let's get into this next story, because Brad Stevens recently weighed in on the Kevin Durant trade rumors. The other day, I think it was just yesterday actually, he went on WEEI in Boston and was asked about the KD trade rumors. Here's what he said. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm not going to go into any conversations that we had because I don't think that's appropriate. But my job is to know what costs are and then ultimately determine whether or not we want to be involved in any deal with any team around the league. So Brad Stevens chiming in. This is the first time he's spoken publicly about the Kevin Durant and Jaylen Brown trade rumors. Of course, Shams Charania reported several weeks ago that the Celtics were very much in pursuit of Kevin Durant and even offered their young star Jaylen Brown in a deal. Brad Stevens said this about JB. Jaylen's been through this from the standpoint of listening, and the noise has been around him for a long time. Big names over the years. I think one of the things you have to be able to do is ignore the noise and know what's important. Also, be able to reach out and have candid and transparent communications with the people involved. We've had those and have been very open from the get-go as all of this has been going on for many of our guys. I sat down with Jaylen last week in Los Angeles. He looked great, and he will be back in Boston soon. Brad Stevens, not the only one that hopped on WEEI in Boston yesterday. Head coach Ime Udoka also went on the radio. He was asked about the trade rumors as well. Here's what the Celtics head coach said. We have a lot of guys whose names have come up over the years. With us, we reiterate how important they are to us, and we all see these guys in the summer anyway, but also let them know that a lot of these rumors that come up are leaked by people with specific agendas. Interesting. If a name like Kevin Durant comes up, a high-level player like that, people are naturally going to ask about your best players. Jason, Jaylen, Marcus, those names always tend to come up. We let them know how much we value them, and these things are often leaked, and nothing is going to come of it. That coming from Celtics head coach Ime Udoka. So a couple takeaways from those radio interviews. Props to them for actually addressing it finally, right? Because that was the first time either of them had publicly addressed these Kevin Durant trade rumors. The timing was very interesting. So these KD rumors have been going on for over a month, is related to the Boston Celtics at least, and we never heard them speak publicly about it in the last couple weeks. But the day that it comes out that KD's definitely staying in Brooklyn, they both go on the radio and talk about it. I thought the timing was very interesting. It is interesting also that neither of them denied having interest in Kevin Durant. Neither of them said, no, fake news, we never called about Kevin Durant. Even Ime Udoka said, look, when guys like Kevin Durant are available, you're going to have some of your key players brought up in trade rumors as well. But they both agreed that they feel really good about the current group, that they feel like the group they have put into place is good enough to win a championship. Another thing that Ime said that was interesting, though, was things get leaked by people that are looking to fit certain agendas. Very interesting quote. I don't know if that was a shot at Shams Charania or whoever, because we have heard some other reports that maybe the Celtics did not offer Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant, that initial report might have been fake news. Now, I want to ask you all, will the Celtics win the title in 2023? Type 1 if you think the Celtics are going to finish number 1 in the NBA.